The topic we'll cover is Agile Change Management, how Agile teams respond to evolving needs, manage change collaboratively, and maintain focus while still embracing flexibility. In Agile, change isn't a disruption, it's part of the process. Agile teams are designed to adapt continuously, and this mindset is what truly separates Agile from traditional predictive approaches. On the PMP exam, you'll be tested on how well you understand this adaptive mindset and how change is handled in both Agile and hybrid environments. Agile teams welcome late-stage changes when they create more value for the customer. That's because the product backlog is a living artifact. It's constantly updated as new insights emerge from stakeholder feedback, shifts in the market, or evolving business priorities. This ensures teams are always focused on delivering the highest value work first. The product owner plays a central role here. They evaluate change requests, collaborate with stakeholders, and decide how to reprioritize the backlog. This ensures that the team adapts without losing sight of the product vision and customer needs. Now here's something important for the exam. Not every change should be handled the same way. Some changes can be incorporated immediately while others must be deferred. If a change supports the current sprint goal, such as a small clarification or a critical defect fix, the team can adapt and bring it into the sprint. But if a change would undermine the sprint goal, like adding a new feature request or introducing major new scope, it should not disrupt the sprint. Instead, the product owner places it in the product backlog to be prioritized later. This distinction is a common exam trap. Look for keywords like critical defect or clarification for changes that can be included right away, and keywords like new feature request or outside the current sprint scope for changes that should be deferred. The golden rule is to protect the sprint goal. Agile leaders also rely on empathetic listening and servant leadership when responding to change, creating trust and helping teams stay focused while stakeholders feel heard. And through feedback loops like sprint reviews and backlog refinement, Agile ensures that change isn't disruptive, it's built into the system. Another key area is stakeholder feedback. Agile thrives on short feedback loops, integrating input through sprint reviews, backlog refinement, or even ad hoc conversations. This keeps products aligned with real customer needs, not outdated assumptions. Contract design also matters. Agile-friendly contracts include flexibility clauses that allow for scope adjustments without triggering massive renegotiations. This creates space for change while still managing accountability and risk. Finally, Agile teams must balance change with sustainability. It's not about chasing every request. It's about adapting while maintaining a healthy pace, avoiding burnout, and preserving long-term delivery capability. In hybrid environments, change can be more complex, blending Agile adaptability with predictive controls. Here, you'll want to understand how teams balance documentation, governance, and vendor constraints with the need to remain responsive. Now we'll go through 10 practice questions that will test your knowledge of Agile change management strategies, leadership behaviors, backlog reprioritization, and how Agile organizations stay flexible without losing focus. Let's get into the first question in this topic. Question 121. Midway through a release, a key stakeholder requests a significant feature change after learning about new market regulations. The team is concerned this could disrupt their progress. The project manager wants to demonstrate Agile's approach to handling late-stage changes. What is the best course of action? A. Work with the team to explain to the stakeholder that changes should wait until after the sprint to protect the team's focus. B. Facilitate a meeting with the team and stakeholders so the team can decide whether to adjust the backlog based on the request. C. Collaborate with the team to capture the change and schedule it for a future release cycle to avoid disrupting the current plan. D. Collaborate with the product owner to evaluate the request, update the backlog if it adds value, and reprioritize work accordingly. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is D. This question tests your understanding of how Agile embraces late-stage change requests that deliver value. Agile does not freeze requirements once planning has occurred. Instead, it adapts through continuous backlog refinement and reprioritization. Choice D is the best option because the product owner has ownership of the backlog. They evaluate the request, determine whether it adds value, and if so, adjust priorities so the team's work aligns with business and regulatory needs. Choice A is incorrect. Protecting sprint focus may sound reasonable, but rejecting late-stage changes goes against Agile principles. Choice B is incorrect. Involving the team in backlog decisions appears collaborative, but backlog ownership rests with the product owner, not the developers. Choice C is incorrect. Deferring the change to a future release cycle avoids disruption but sacrifices responsiveness and timely delivery of value. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 122. During a sprint, a developer privately tells the project manager that they feel overwhelmed with their workload and unsupported by teammates. What should the project manager do? A. Listen to the developer's concern, acknowledge it, and bring the topic to the team so they can discuss how to handle workload balance. B. Meet individually with other team members to understand their perspectives before making adjustments to assignments. C. Express appreciation for the developer's openness and encourage them to raise the concern directly with the team during the next stand-up. D. Note the concern and plan to bring it up during the retrospective so the team can collectively discuss workload and support. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is A. This question tests your understanding of how Agile leaders use empathy and transparency to support the team. Leadership in Agile is not about directing work, but about enabling the team to address challenges openly. Choice A is the best option because listening to the developer's concern, acknowledging it, and bringing it to the team promotes transparency, shared responsibility, and collective problem solving. Choice B is incorrect. Speaking to individuals separately may seem empathetic, but reduces transparency and risks creating side conversations. Choice C is incorrect. Encouraging openness is positive, but it puts the burden back on the developer instead of the leader, creating psychological safety. Choice D is incorrect. Retrospectives allow team discussion, but waiting delays action and leaves the developer unsupported during the sprint. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 123. A large program is being managed using a hybrid approach. Agile teams deliver components iteratively, while predictive governance requires formal change control for scope at the program level. A new stakeholder request impacts both Agile work streams and the program's critical milestones. How should the project manager handle this change? A. Ask the product owner to evaluate and accept the request in the backlog and then inform the program PMO so governance artifacts can be updated afterward. B. Coordinate with team leads to plan the change into the next sprint through backlog refinement and release planning and submit the change to the change control board. C. Collaborate with the product owner to update the backlog while also submitting the change for program-level review to assess milestone and scope impacts. D. Submit the change to the program CCB for an expedited decision, allowing teams to continue limited planning activities while awaiting formal approval. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is C. This question tests your understanding of how to manage change in hybrid environments. In a hybrid project, Agile teams remain flexible through backlog adaptation, while predictive governance requires formal oversight for scope and milestone impacts. The project manager must ensure both sides are respected. Choice C is the best option because it integrates backlog reprioritization with program-level change review. This balances Agile adaptability with predictive governance. Choice A is incorrect. Allowing the product owner to update the backlog first and notifying the PMO afterward creates misalignment and risks unapproved changes slipping into delivery. Choice B is incorrect. Involving team leads in the CCB is proactive, but it bypasses backlog ownership by the product owner and can undermine proper prioritization. Choice D is incorrect. Escalating quickly sounds efficient, but pushing the decision entirely to the CCB removes collaboration and risks unnecessary delays. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 124. During a sprint review, stakeholders suggest several adjustments to improve the product's usability. The development team is enthusiastic but worried about disrupting ongoing work. What is the best way for the project manager to ensure this feedback is handled in line with Agile principles? A. Ask the product owner to log the stakeholder feedback and wait until the next retrospective to discuss how it should be addressed. B. Work with the product owner to capture the feedback as backlog items, refine them as needed, and prioritize them against existing work. C. Facilitate a workshop with the product owner, stakeholders, and developers to immediately adjust the current sprint backlog to include the changes. D. Encourage the product owner to have the team make small usability adjustments right away during the sprint to demonstrate responsiveness. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is B. This question tests your understanding of how Agile incorporates stakeholder feedback without losing focus on sprint commitments. Agile teams welcome feedback, but integrate it through backlog management and prioritization, not by disrupting ongoing sprint work. Choice B is the best option because the product owner ensures that feedback becomes properly refined backlog items and prioritized alongside existing work, maintaining both responsiveness and focus. Choice A is incorrect. Retrospectives are for improving the team's process, not for deciding how product feedback should be handled. Choice C is incorrect. Involving everyone to change the sprint backlog mid-sprint disrupts commitments and reduces focus on the sprint goal. Choice D is incorrect. Making adjustments on the fly may seem responsive, but it undermines sprint discipline and introduces scope creep. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 125. During a sprint, a stakeholder requests a change to an upcoming feature. The developers are eager to implement it immediately because it seems straightforward and useful. The Scrum Master suggests documenting the request for visibility. What is the correct way to handle this change in Agile? A. The product owner should review the request, determine its value, and update the backlog if appropriate, adjusting priorities as needed. B. The developers should add the request directly to the sprint backlog since they are closest to the technical work. C. The Scrum Master should track the request in the impediment log and bring it up at the next retrospective for team discussion. D. The project manager and product owner should perform an impact analysis and decide if the change should be included in the backlog. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is A. This question tests your understanding of the product owner's role in managing change. In Agile, the product backlog is the single source of work, and the product owner is accountable for ensuring all changes are evaluated for value and prioritized appropriately. Choice A is the best option because the product owner reviews the request, determines its value, and updates the backlog if necessary. This keeps ownership clear and ensures prioritization aligns with business goals. Choice B is incorrect. Developers provide valuable technical insight but do not own backlog prioritization, and adding items directly to the sprint backlog undermines product ownership. Choice C is incorrect. The Scrum Master focuses on team effectiveness, not backlog management, and the retrospective is the wrong form for product-level change requests. Choice D is incorrect. While collaboration between the project manager and product owner may sound thorough, backlog ownership rests solely with the product owner, not shared decision-making with the project manager. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 126. A project is being delivered through an Agile vendor partnership. The sponsor wants to ensure the contract can handle scope adjustments as priorities evolve without requiring lengthy renegotiations for every change request. Which type of clause best supports Agile ways of working? A. Include a contract clause allowing changes but require formal customer sign-off on each adjustment before backlog reprioritization. B. Allow the project manager to approve minor changes directly while major changes must still follow the standard change approval process. C. Use a time and materials contract clause that allows ongoing changes and backlog reprioritization. D. Define contract terms that support backlog reprioritization, enabling the vendor and customer to adjust features collaboratively within agreed constraints. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is D. This question tests your understanding of Agile-friendly contract clauses. Agile contracts should enable adaptation, collaboration, and responsiveness without burdensome renegotiation. Choice D is the best option because it defines terms that support backlog reprioritization while explicitly requiring vendor and customer collaboration within agreed constraints. This ensures flexibility while keeping both parties aligned. Choice A is incorrect. While it allows changes requiring formal sign-offs on every adjustment, adds bureaucracy and slows adaptation. Choice B is incorrect. Approvals by the project manager create a tiered change process that feels predictive and undermines agile collaboration. Choice C is incorrect. Time and materials contracts offer flexibility and support reprioritization, but without explicit collaboration and boundaries, they may lead to scope ambiguity and misalignment. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 127. Midway through the release, a regulatory body issues new requirements that must be addressed. Stakeholders agree these are high priority, but the team is already committed to its current sprint backlog. What should the project manager do to ensure the work is handled appropriately? A. Ask the product owner to incorporate the requirements into the current sprint backlog so the team can address regulatory requirements immediately. B. Capture the requirements with the product owner and defer discussion of priority until after the sprint review to preserve the current sprint commitments. C. Collaborate with the product owner to add the new requirements to the product backlog and adjust prioritization for upcoming sprints. D. Partner with a product owner to conduct a quick impact analysis with stakeholders and decide collectively whether to bring the items into the current sprint, then update the backlog. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is C. This question tests your ability to respond to mid-sprint change while honoring Agile roles and commitments. Agile teams welcome change, but any adjustment must respect the product owner's authority and maintain focus on the sprint goal. Choice C is the best option because it reflects the product owner's accountability for backlog prioritization. The request is captured and factored into future sprint planning, keeping team commitments stable and respecting Agile roles. Choice A is incorrect. Although well-intentioned, inserting work mid-sprint disrupts focus and should only be done if it aligns with the sprint goal or is a critical blocker. Choice B is incorrect. Delaying discussion until the sprint review ignores Agile responsiveness and value delivery. Decisions should be made based on impact, not ceremony timing. Choice D is incorrect. This adds unnecessary group decision-making to something that is within the product owner's responsibility, which may lead to role confusion and delays. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 128. A new stakeholder request arrives during the second day of the sprint. The request is aligned with business objectives but not directly related to the current sprint goal. The stakeholder insists the team should begin work on it immediately due to visibility with senior leadership. What should the project manager do? A. Support the product owner in deferring the request to the backlog for future prioritization as it does not align with the current sprint goal. B. Encourage the product owner to adjust the sprint goal to accommodate the new request so the team can maintain leadership support. C. Facilitate a team discussion to determine if the request can be squeezed in without impacting sprint velocity. D. Recommend adjusting the sprint backlog immediately to respond quickly to business leadership needs. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is A. This question tests your understanding of how Agile maintains sprint focus by protecting the sprint goal from unplanned changes. Agile leaders support the product owner's role in prioritization and help the team stay committed to delivering planned value. A is the best option because the product owner manages the backlog and must protect the current sprint goal unless the new item is critical and directly related. Deferring the item maintains team focus and respects the Agile framework. Choice B is incorrect. Although adjusting the goal may sound reasonable, doing so mid-sprint undermines the team's original commitment and weakens the purpose of having a sprint goal. Choice C is incorrect. While team discussions are helpful, squeezing in extra work without proper prioritization and sprint goal alignment leads to overcommitment and process breakdown. Choice D is incorrect. Reacting quickly to stakeholder demands by changing the sprint backlog disregards the agreed plan and the product owner's responsibility for prioritization. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 129. Partway through a sprint, a senior executive bypasses the product owner and directly asks a team member to begin working on a new customer-driven feature. The team member feels pressured and brings the request to the project manager. What should the project manager do? A. Thank the team member for raising the concern and advise them to accommodate the request, as executive input should be prioritized. B. Work with the Scrum Master to coach the team member on managing stakeholder requests without disrupting sprint commitments. C. Meet with the executive and the team to negotiate a revised sprint plan that includes the new feature request. D. Ask the product owner to immediately add the request to the sprint backlog since the team has been directly approached by leadership. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is B. This question tests how well you apply Agile principles when external pressure threatens team autonomy. Agile teams are self-managing, but leadership influence can challenge that balance. A strong project manager respects roles and reinforces product owner authority while protecting the sprint. B is the best option because it upholds Agile principles. The Scrum Master supports team empowerment and shields the team from external disruption. Coaching the team member reinforces the sprint commitment and the role of the product owner in handling new requests. Choice A is incorrect. While it acknowledges the team member, encouraging them to act on executive requests, bypasses the product owner and breaks the sprint structure. Choice C is incorrect. Negotiating sprint scope mid-sprint undermines the planning process and encourages ongoing disruption from outside. Choice D is incorrect. Adding the work without PO prioritization and stakeholder discussion creates a precedent that weakens the product owner's authority. Let's move on to the next question if you're ready. Question 130. Midway through a sprint, the product owner receives a stakeholder request and confirms that it aligns with the business case and supports the current sprint goal. However, the development team expresses concern about whether they have enough capacity to deliver the additional work without compromising current sprint commitments. What should the project team do? A. Collaborate with the product owner to assess available capacity and, if feasible, add the item to the sprint backlog. B. Acknowledge the team's capacity concerns and prioritize the request in the product backlog for the next sprint to ensure the team stays focused. C. Notify the PMO to revise sprint scope and adjust the delivery baseline in light of the request. D. Work with the product owner and facilitate a replanning session with all stakeholders to redefine sprint commitments. You can pause the video here if you need more time to work on the question. The correct answer is A. This question tests your ability to balance Agile flexibility with team capacity and commitment. When a change supports the sprint goal and the business case, the team should explore incorporating it, but only if it's feasible within their current capacity. A is the best option because it promotes collaboration, respects team input, and ensures any addition won't jeopardize current sprint work. Agile allows for change, but only with team buy-in and capacity confirmation. Choice B is incorrect. While it shows empathy and planning, it delays a change that's aligned with the sprint goal and might be feasible, missing an opportunity to deliver value now. Choice C is incorrect. Involving the PMO introduces unnecessary bureaucracy for a change that should be handled within the team. Choice D is incorrect. A full replanning session is excessive for a request that could be integrated without altering the sprint goal or commitments. You've now completed all 10 questions for the Agile Change Management. That's 130 Agile questions mastered so far. Keep it up. You're sprinting toward PMP success. When you are ready, I will see you at the next topic.